This video will be about how you can incorporate your faith when you do any kind of junk journaling project. This particular project was from January of 2024. It was for Junk Journal January, which Meg Journals on YouTube sponsored. I guess it's been around for a couple of years. This is the first time that I've done it. And what she does is she gives you a prompt, one for every day of the month. So there's 31 prompts. And she also has people who are artists sign up and do videos. So there's typically a video for each day. If you want to go back and look at it, just plug in hashtag Junk Journal January 2024 and you'll see it. But I participated for the first time this year, but I wanted to show you how I've incorporated my faith. So for me, this was just like regular daily journaling. I looked at her prompts and I would say, okay, so like the first one was resolutions. Well, I don't do resolutions, but I also practice something called Logos 365, which is about a word of the year, lots of different names. It's all over the internet. You can plug it in. Visual Faith Ministry, we call it Logos 365, and I do participate in that. So that is, I was able on the first day to then talk about what word did God give me for 2024. And the word that he gave me was fresh. Kind of interesting. Now, this video is going to show you my entire book. If you want to go back and read more on the day-to-day, just follow me on IG and you'll see that I talked a lot more about some of these things. The video would take hours if I really went into every single thing, but I just wanted to show you how you can always incorporate your faith into a junk journaling. So for resolutions, day 1 was Logos 365. What is the word God has given me? Day 2 was a quote. And I found a quote that actually supported my Logos 365, and that's what I put on this little tuck-in here. The third day was throwback, and this actually was very interesting because this launched me onto something that I have not done for a long time. Probably 35, 40 years ago, my grandmother started giving me old photos and things like that. And I've kept them and I had them in a bag. And when I started doing Junk Journal January, I found this bag of photos and all this stuff in there. And I realized, what am I ever going to do with this? I'm 72, I'll be 73 this year. And I realized that when I die, my kids will probably throw that envelope away because they won't know the people. They won't understand what it means to them. So I decided in last month that I was going to incorporate all of those original things and tell the story. And then at the very end, I realized how do you incorporate your faith is that I had this one pocket here. He is our rest. And I realized this is what I did. And I'm just like so excited about this. I ended up writing a note to my children and grandchildren, explaining to them what this project was. And that if they wanted to know more about me as a person, I guess when I'm gone or whatever, or my faith, they could look in this journal and they would be able to find out who was my grandmother. So I'm going to walk you through now and show you what I incorporated in here. So it's interesting. I have AB positive blood, and I found my grandmother's blood card that she had gotten. Who knows when this was? I have no idea. But we have the same we had the same AB positive blood type. Interesting. And then I have all these old photos. They're so interesting. You gotta like look really close at this. So here's my grandmother in her hat. There's my grandfather, and there's my dad, and then his 2 brothers. There was 5 children, but that particular picture was, so that would be, he was born in 32. So this is the late 30s, this picture was. And then I decided to just journal a little bit about what that picture is. Again, with the thinking that for my legacy that I'm going to be leaving for my family and grandchildren, that they would understand what those pictures are about. And then over here, day 4 was a tuck spot, and here, I'll get it yet. And what I did was, again, I found pictures and I didn't realize how much I looked like my father, who just passed away last year. This is my dad. So this is 1933 probably. I was born in 51. So this is me probably in 52, and how similar we look. So I wrote all that information on there, and it's a tuck spot in there. So that's cool. And then on day 5 was, what's your daily log? And I realized that I'm at a crossroads in my life. I'm making some changes. I spent a lot of time working for a lot of ministries, and I've let go of some of that because I've been retired for a long time, but working many hours a week. And so my daily log is going to be do fun things in 2024. And so I made a list of what would I do on every day, and like Bible study and things like that. Then the next 6 was a memory, and again, pull out that envelope. And this is one of the first pictures that I did with my entire family. I adopted my 3 daughters from Ukraine in 2006. And this is their 3 brothers. I had 3 boys, and this is my oldest son, had just gotten married, and my first grandson's in that picture. And then there's my middle son's was fiance, now wife. So, and then here's the original note that I sent out in 2010. So that's in here. That's a keepsake to me. Let's see, stitched. So I stitched this beautiful piece of fabric, slow stitching people call it. I stamped a Bible verse on here, and then I wrote the Bible verse out in here. So there's a way you can add your faith. The next one was neutral. I loved that I'm finding all these new laces and things like that, so I put those down. And then I found a Bible verse, depart from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. So I have Bible verses all through here. Foliage, not really much about my faith, but I was following through with that. Layered was this one. Then this one was eclectic. This was my great aunt. So this is in the 1930s. She was so beautiful. And this is some people in our family. I really don't know who. This was another great aunt's daughter, and this is from 1927, and they were in Atlantic City. Can you see that picture? Like, how cool is that? And then over here, this was a friend of our family, and I just love this one. This is my grandmother and a girlfriend in 1927 in Atlantic City. And look at their cute bathing suits with the bloomers. So there's another way to basically share my family, which is part of my faith. Torn edges, there's all the torn edges, the word of joy. Next prompt was my garden, and my garden basically is my family. And so here's the picture from 2006 in Dubno, Ukraine, where I just walked out of the courthouse where I adopted my 3 girls. And then this is my 2 grandsons that I have. That picture's from last year. And then here was the first picture that we took as an entire family with all 6 of my children in 2006 on Mother's Day. So I was able to write why that means a lot to me. The next one was what patterns. So I did lots of different patterns, and I added a picture of my grandmother again. Pray without ceasing, because that's what I try to do every day. This one was opposites, and again I did a large flower, same flower, smaller, and a Bible verse, you are inscribed in the palm of his hand. Excuse me. This one was flow, what flows for you. And flow is to be so immersed in creating that time passes by without noticing. And I get into creating and working on digital things, and that's exactly what happens to me. The next one was whimsical, which I was like, I don't do whimsy. This will be interesting. But I do whimsy with my doggies. I have 2 Labradoodles, and I buy those cute little things for their heads. So I put that in there, found this cool digital fantasy paper and put that in there. Then this is, this date was borders. And so I added lace borders around the original picture. This is my maternal grandfather. So he was born in 1900, so he's standing up. So I'm assuming he's like 1901, 1902. This is his sister. So that was my great aunt. And I actually, this was on the back of the picture, and I was able to take it off and put it in here and make a note that that's actually my mother, that's her father's handwriting. So I have that in there that hopefully as a legacy. And then the comment was interactive. So for me, it was interactive. I found this life viewed backwards, which of course is all the old stuff. So here's more of my old things that I found. Here is the marriage certificate from 1902 in Pennsylvania that my great-great-grandfather and mother got married. And then here's a whole bunch of pictures. This is some friends of our family. Don't know who they were. These are more ancestors, but just look at these great old pictures. I have scanned them, and I will be making digital kits and including some of these. I just love, look at the hats on these women. This is I think, great-great-great-grandfather and a bunch of kids. And then look at that, really cool. That was like a tintype of a thing. So again, I'm putting this in this journal as a legacy for my children and grandchildren, and they will be able to. And I wrote down anything I knew about each person on there. The next one was nature, which I used some nature things. But I also started to think about my grandmother, who had a big influence on my life, was really into gardening. And she, so this is in the late 30s, early 40s. She's actually standing in her greenhouse. They were very wealthy, and she had like a 50 by 60 greenhouse. I remember as a little child going there. And then that's her mother growing flowers. So, and then that's my great grandmother growing flowers also. So again, I wrote all that down, and I'm sticking it in my journal so that these pictures now have a home and a place and mean something. Then it was peeking out, and this is my grandmother. So this is from she was born in 1900, so 1900, 1901, and put her information in there. And then the next post was what's on your bookshelf. And I started to look on my bookshelf, and I have been doing Faithart, oh my gosh, for 25 years. These are just some of my journals. I still have another room full of journals. Then I have pictures of all the faith projects that I do there, and more things that I've been doing. And then I just wrote a note about what does that mean? What do they mean? Hopefully that my children and grandchildren will take them and look at them and maybe like them. Next was textures. Added lots of texture on here and things to touch, and added a Bible verse about rejoicing, because I am told to pray and rejoice always. Some days that's easy, some days it's hard. The next one was fabric, so I did that fun, now I'm just blanking on what the name of it is, but it's just crinkling up little pieces of fabric that I've collected. And the fact that my evidence is that I'm walking with Jesus, and that's what this card says. And how do I do that? I do daily Bible reading, I create faith art, I lead a Bible study every week. So those were just some ideas with the dates. Sharing the gift of the good news. This was an ombre prompt, so I just kept it all very beigey, and did fun ombre on the tag. And again, I wrote, what does that mean for me daily to share my faith? Here's another one, but translucent. Use a translucent pocket, but I included a Bible verse that I live by, for we walk by faith, not by sight. The next one was lyrics, song lyrics. So I listen to Christian music all the time, and this one I particularly love. This is by David Crowder, God Really Loves Us. If you want to go on YouTube, it's Crowder and Dante Brio that sings God Really Loves Us. And I wrote some of the lyrics down. And then in here, this was my prayer for my children and grandchildren. So that's kind of stuck in there. Now let's see if I can get it back in without messing it up as we move forward. There we go. The next one was grungy. So this is all just grungy. And then this was something cute that had a Bible verse on it. And of course, when I made it, then I stamped more Bible verses on the back, but I did them upside down. But that's just the way it goes. Doesn't have to be perfect. Geometric, pretty simple. I keep those, my neighbor and I get devotions, free devotions from lots of different ministries, and they always have the Bible verses typed on there, and they're nice and small. So I just cut those out and stick those in any kind of a journal page that I'm doing. Travel was the next to the last day. And if I think about travel, it's not where I want to go. I've already done my bucket list. I had the great privilege of going to Israel in 2017, December 17 to January of 18. And I just included, I had done a notebook that Connie and John Denninger were our leaders, and it was a pilgrimage. And so I just took photos of the pages just so I could include it in here and talk about why was that so important to me that I went to Israel and what did I learn. Then we had reflect. So this was reflecting on this whole project. This was the last day. And I wrote in there, and as I mentioned, my big tip is if you're making any faith art, write a note to the future family that you may have, children, grandchildren, whatever, so that when they read that, they understand, why did you do this and why are you sharing your faith? And then just a little booklet about if I'm ever witnessing to somebody about your life, a new beginning. So there's some examples of how you can include your faith art when you do junk journaling. Blessings.